country. When I say here, in USA, he has participated with many other temple structures being built around the country. So we are pleased to have both experts. I will not take much of your time now. I will let our Ashwaji initiate the section. I invite him. Thank you. Namaskara.
Thank you. Namaskara. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tasvinavadhi Tamastu Mahavidrishavahai.
Fan off ಮಾಡಿರೋದು ಯಾಕೆ
Shanti. Possible, sir, if you could mute everybody, I will unmute myself.
Okay. Shivramanji?
Yes.
Yeah.
I will give you the permission also.
Yeah, please mute everybody and then I will.
And I also need a... okay. Thank you, sir. Go ahead, please. All the attendees, right? Kindly mute yourself for now. If somebody is there, could you please mute yourself? Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, sir.
I think the host can mute everybody and I will unmute myself.
Yeah. Actually, there is a little bit of a glitch here. We are trying to work through that.
Hello.
Hello, Gayatri ji. Can you mute yourself, please?
Thank you. The scope of this series of talks is, as Dr. Vidyasagar has mentioned, is that we confine ourselves to the study of Sanatana Dharma. And as part of this Sanatana Dharma, we had last month an overview of what Sanatana Dharma is, and then in the course of this series of talks, we will be studying the various aspects of Sanatana Dharma. And at the outset, what is the ultimate goal of all practices, study, contemplation, as far as Sanatana Dharma is concerned? Our sages say it is the almost inseparable mixture of deha consisting of not only the physical body but the mind, the emotion, the intellect, is intricately intertwined with the eternal self, the Atman. And as long as this contamination of the deha, samsara, the world, all of these things are intermixed in our mind, there is going to be sukha and dukkha, experiences of both pleasure and pain. The ultimate goal that our sages say is, if by some means, even in your meditation, however briefly, you are able to separate yourself from the dominance of body-mind complex and isolate the pure Chaitanya Swarupa, or the intelligent principle, the consciousness principle, the existing principle of Atman, we can have a glimpse of eternality, that we are actually not finite people who live a short period of time, but we are actually immortal. So for that, a process had to be developed, and hence our sages developed a systematic way of approaching this issue and gave us also the methodology. There is a beautiful story in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. In this Upanishad, there is the king Janaka who gets this philosophical question: what is reality? And that what is reality is triggered by a dream that he had. So he is the emperor, and then he is in his palace. He goes into a dream. In that dream, a neighboring king attacks the kingdom, and then he holds hostage of Janaka and his family, and he says he can only save his life by getting out of the country, the Mithila. So he goes out of the country, and then he's so hungry and tired, and there was somebody who was offering porridge for all the people who were pilgrims. And our hero, Janaka, please note that he's in a dream, he holds his broken plate, and a porridge is poured into his plate, and right at that moment a vulture scoops down and then knocks off the plate, and then he will suddenly wake up. And when he wakes up, he gets this psychological, philosophical question: which is real? Is the dream real, or is my waking state real? So he calls upon all the learned scholars of the land, and among them the greatest of the sage is Yajnavalkya. And Yajnavalkya Maharshi, he asks him, what is this reality? And then quite a bit of discussion is there. In future, we will look at the message of the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad also in our series. But relevant to our subject, the question that was asked was, where do we start? Where do we start this isolation of the body-mind complex, which is finite, and the infinite Atman, which is my true nature? So, Yajnavalkya Maharshi says that you have to start with the divine karma or ritual. You have to start with ritual and then to progress. So suppose, let us say, we map a human being to the Sanatana Dharma, the human body to the Sanatana Dharma. The Vedic ritual are the feet. Morality and dharmic life is our hands. Then the devotion that comes is our heart, and the philosophy is the head. So that is how we can map these four aspects. Obviously, just as we cannot stand without firm legs, Sanatana Dharma cannot stand without ritual. Important point to note: if we destroy the ritual of Sanatana Dharma, the entire edifice of Sanatana Dharma itself collapses. But there are also some, how far we will go, we will see momentarily. So Yajnavalkya, coming back, he says, how can we do this isolation? He says, Yajnena, Danena, Tapasa, Anashakena. I'm quoting from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, chapter 4, the fourth section 4 and mantra number 22, for those of you who would like to go back and see. The same sentiment is reflected in the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita also, in which Krishna says an intelligent person is actually ennobled and he is able to discover the self. Yajno danam tapaschaiva pavanani manishinaha. This is the 18th chapter, verse number 5 of the Bhagavad Gita. So you can see that what an emphasis has been given, even in our philosophical works like the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, and the bridge between philosophy and action, which is Bhagavad Gita. You can see the emphasis laid on Vedic ritual. Yajna is ritual, puja, homa, and they can also be classified into three parts. One is called Nitya Karma, which we have to observe rituals every single day. Then there is Naimittika karma, where occasional rituals are observed, such as when you do a wedding. And then you also have Kamya karma, that is certain rituals performed with a particular worldly desire in our mind. Say, for example, a person wants to get a child, they will do a Vaidika karma called Putra Kameshti Yajna. So, therefore, from this foregoing discussion, we can see that the entire Sanatana Dharma can be classified into two parts. One is where there is action, worship, karma, and there is also jnana, fruit of knowledge and jnana. Both of them are there. So, and then let us look at the importance of ritual itself. First of all, ritual is a social product. Just as a child learns to speak a language without worrying about its meaning. That's how a child will start. Just repeat whatever the parents are saying, and then eventually meaning will follow. Same should be the attitude towards the Vaidika karma. That is, just as a child learns to speak first and meaning comes later, we have to start doing the Vaidika karma and the meaning will follow in due course. Vaidika karma, I'm using this as a Sanskrit word for ritual, not only brings together the different classes of society. For instance, if you go to the temple, there are no distinctions are made as to what caste, creed, color, gender. Everybody is welcome to the temple. Everybody participates in the religious act. So, irrespective of Varna and ashrama, ritual is observed and is felt as important. Now, not only that this is a social product, it also connects generation after generation. For instance, if you see the Vedic heritage, probably for the last 2500 years, every Hindu has wanted to go to Kashi, Banaras, and worship there. Tirthayatra. Kaveri, can you please mute?
Oh, okay.
Kaveri?
Okay.
Kaveri, can you please mute?
Kaveri ji, and there is somebody from iPad. Please mute. It's very...
Sanat ji, I have muted everyone, so you can unmute yourself.
Can you also make me the co-host, please, Shivaraman ji? Shivaraman ji, can you also make me the co-host?
Yes.
So if you look at, for example, the Vaidika Vivaha process, that is where the wedding takes place, we have been observing the Vaidika Vivaha methodology again for over 2000 years. Every generation, they may not do any other ritual, but when it comes to marriage, in all Hindu families, or even in families where the more than one races are mixed and one of them is a Hindu, we have always seen that the Vivaha karma, Vedic Vivaha karma is espoused. So what is the cardinal function of ritual? Let us say that I have faith in God. I have faith in the scripture, in the Shastra. How do I visualize that? So the next important impact of observing Vaidika karma is the faith and the Shraddha I have in my heart. I am able to express it in a structured manner through the ritual. And therefore, for example, I have a very great reverence for my favorite deity, be it Shiva or Vishnu or Krishna. How do I show that I have got that immense amount of faith in that particular deity. How do I do that? Take, for instance, when we do the Abhisheka, where we collect various materials such as milk, yogurt, honey, sugar, etc. And they are most nourishing for us. And these are all the ingredients which we very much want in our everyday living for comfort. And then let us say we make a spread of fine food. When we show the Shraddha of saying, here, all these materials which I love most and I want most, I crave for, I am offering it to you. There we are actually showing and the Shraddha that we have, and besides that, we are ourselves able to visualize our faith. Say consider when you do housewarming, say Griha Pravesha. After all, you are going to live in that house, and then that is your home. But you do Griha Pravesha, a ritual. So what does it do? In the Griha Pravesha, you first let your family deity, your favorite deity, to enter first, and then you install that deity in your puja room, and then say that this house is your house, and I am living in your house. And this is another way of visualizing our own faith, and therefore ritual helps us visualize if we have Shraddha and how much we have Shraddha. Then the car puja, for example. After all, it is a transportation. So you would have seen in the Rama temple a procession of new cars. They come and the priest will be worshipping. After all, it is a material object. Why is it we should do a car puja? It is again expression and a visualization of our faith that every time I sit in this car, Ishvara is next to me. Therefore, you see, the next important point is ritual makes us visualize our Shraddha. Then, Vaidika karma also provides an outlet for our emotions, especially when our emotions are intense and overwhelming. 99% of the time, whenever we have, our life is going smoothly and everything is okay, then all that I said above about visualization, Shraddha, etc. is where we do it because it is our heritage, we do it because our community does it, it is because generation to generation it is transformed. But there are also difficult moments in our life where ritual plays an extraordinary therapeutic role. For example, suppose we lose somebody very close, dear and near. At that point of time, we perform the Antyeshti, which is a Vaidika karma. Antyeshti is the last rites. We perform the Shraddha, or the annual ceremonies for our bereaved, our parents, or anybody whom we have lost. What does these do? The ritual of Antyeshti in times of bereavement is going to bring a closure to the raw emotions that the family is going through. The Shraddha that we do every year for our elders brings back tender memories of the departed. A very important psychological function that the ritual plays. The psychological function in times of happiness, psychological satisfaction in times of hardship. Another important point about Vedic ritual is the expression of the aesthetic. this is an area for our respected Vanamoorthy to speak following my presentation, where the beautifully sculpted temples, altars, the Moorthis, drawings such as Rangoli, floral garlands that are strung together at great effort. Garlands are particularly a case in point. You pluck flowers and their shelf life is so very short. In spite of that, how much of Shraddha is seen in just stringing of the garlands. If ritual was not there, what would you do? Would you string a garland? Would you build a beautiful temple? Would you have a sophisticated sculpted Moorthis? And without all these things, without the temples, without the arts, without the Moorthis, what would be a visit to India for you? Whenever we go to India, we always go and visit some of the fabulous temples which have been standing there for thousands of years. The next point about ritual is it embeds a discipline in our life. For example, I would say that without meditation, without doing puja, without doing the japa of Gayatri, I will not eat. It's a self-imposed discipline. But for that discipline to be effective, we need the boundary of a ritual. Even it brings social grace. For example, we in Hindu households, when we invite our guests, and then when we actually cook food, we allow and ask our guests to eat first. We might join them in between, but the honor is given for the guests. In other words, ritual acts as a bridge to the next point we are going to see, which is how do we live a dharmic life. So ritual bridges our emotions, our attitudes, and brings a discipline and takes us to the next step of dharmacharana. Ritual is also a ground for mystic experience. While there is so much of drama that is going on in the outside of the ritual, you go to a temple, and in the temple you stand before the deity, and they are doing the abhisheka. If you look at it in just a clinical eye, after all, it's a stone idol. Beautiful, sure, but it's a stone idol. Is that all the experience? The experience is more than that. This Ishvara, who is omniscient, who is a Sarvantaryami, is in this Moorthi, is in this idol, is in this image, and therefore you experience the presence of God. We use the technical term Sannidhi. And that Sannidhi is possible only when you are going through the ritual in the temple of various services offered to the deity. Now there are also some limitations in ritual. All that I spoke about is pretty glorious, but at the same time we also have to be cautious that rituals can become mechanical, rituals can be static. Two important entities that we have to be cautious about. Because day in and day out and day in and day out, the person is doing the same ritual, the same format, the same mantras are used. Mind will be wandering everywhere, but the ritual will be going on. It's mechanical. And it's also static because the system of how the ritual flows, orthodoxy says you cannot change. It has to be so. The power of the mantra will be lost when it becomes mechanical or when it becomes static. How can we solve this issue? This is where the role of the Acharya or the role of the priest, his innovation, his erudition, his scholarship plays a big, big role. Whenever I conduct the Satyanarayana Puja, a lot of you are familiar. At the end of the Satyanarayana Puja, there are 5 stories. Sometimes those stories are a little bit disconcerting. But I interpret each one of the stories in different ways by drawing upon different aspects of Sanatana Dharma. Just to give you an example, suppose you take the first story where there is this woodcutter, and the woodcutter is not, I'm presuming that all of you know this story, there is this woodcutter who is unable to sell his wares. Then a learned person comes on the way, and all he says is, why don't you go to a rich suburb and sell your wares? And then think of Satyanarayana in your mind. So what is this teacher doing? He's giving the instruction to have Ishvara in his mind and pursue his profession, and at the same time he plays the role of a guru. So we can say the first story is the importance of a teacher in our spiritual life, and so on. A number of interpretations are possible for all of these stories. Then, in all the rituals, the role of the priest is to discuss however briefly, the spiritual, philosophical, and all of those issues, so that the assembly learns to appreciate the importance of ritual. So whatever be the defect, it is our important duty that we should not destroy ritual. If we destroy Vedic ritual, we will be cutting off the legs of spirituality altogether. But at the same time, ritual should not become everything to the exception of contemplation, to the exception of meditation, to the exception of dharma. So we need to develop a metric. What effect ritual is doing on us? What is the effect? For that our Shastras say, the mark of a successful ritual is an inner transformation. And the inner transformation is to prepare our mind for 8 qualities. It is called Ashtagunas. Every ritual, friends, please think about this. If every ritual were able to inspire us to pursue one or other or more of these Ashtagunas, the list of the Ashtagunas are, first of all, Daya Sarvabhuteshu. It is compassion in all living beings. How does ritual express it? By sharing the Naivedya. When you share a very delicious Naivedya, you don't eat, but you share it with everybody. And then all our temples on very sacred days, they actually serve food, and they don't charge any money for that. And many philanthropic activities are taken. So Daya Sarvabhuteshu, number 1 of the 8. The second quality that ritual must lead us on is called Kshanti. Kshanti is mental composure. And the third one is Anasuya, that is becoming free from envy. And number 4 is to maintain a purity, bodily, kaya, in speech, vacha, in thought, manasa. Number 5, Anayasa. All of this following the ritual, the dharma following, everything must be sit very lightly on us. We should not get fatigued or burdened. It must be natural, and it must be enjoyable, and it must be palpable to everybody who come across with us, and it must be actually contagious. When you have such a person, other people also should say, that this is a virtue that I need to emulate. Mangalam, even inauspicious occasions, sorrowful occasions, also end up in auspiciousness. Classic point is in Antyeshti, when a person has departed, for the first 12 days, several rituals are formed. But on the 13th day, we do what is known as Mangala Svikara. That day, we actually celebrate it as though it is a festival. The grieving period should convert itself into joy. And joy can come only when there is auspiciousness. Akarpanyam is the next value. Akarpanya means pettiness. We have to give up pettiness. We go to the temple and then somebody will be talking, somebody will be gossiping. We have seen people getting irritated. Children will be running around. We feel people getting irritated. And then we also think that, oh, I am not as good as this other person who is chanting Vishnu Sahasranama, who is chanting the mantras. So none of those things will be there for a person who brings up this next step, which is practice of dharma. Aspruheti. Aspruha means non-clinging. These are the 8 qualities. A perfectly understood and executed ritual must transform us with the Dayadi Ashtagunas. Daya Sarvabhuteshu. Number 1, Kshantihi, Anasuya, Shaucham, Anayasaha, Mangalam, Akarpanyam, Aspruheti, Ashtagunaha. Don't worry about the Sanskrit, but it is the value behind it. So, thus, we come to the link of our next study. That is how through ritual we can go to the next step of actual practicing of dharma. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are you going to take some questions or continue?
Yeah, it depends on the timeline. We are
okay. We have 25 minutes. And do you want to address any questions you received?
I can do that, but please also I want to, if Vanamoorthy ji has much to say, we will.
Sure. I think, we will address some questions. And then in the end, we will give, the last 10 minutes, we will take it for the architecture one. Sanatji, do you want to give the questions or you want to...
I think Sagar Garu has raised his hand.
Okay.
Unmute cheskondi, Sagar Garu.
One question that comes up, children ask and even the adults ask, why in the Abhishek we have to use milk, coconut water, so on and so forth? Okay, we are praying God, so on and so forth, but what is the significance and ritual of each of these Abhishek?
Sure. In the architecture of puja, which we will touch upon it in a later session. In the architecture of puja, every human being, in fact every living being, but every human being is actually a descent of God. But every time an individual comes into contact with nature, that is when some corruption is bound to happen. For example, we start the Abhisheka with milk. Now, milk has a finite shelf life, however nourishing it is. So, you offer Abhisheka from the milk and say, this is the first iteration I have come from the infinite. Infinite is actually immortal. So from the immortal Amrita, I have come into contact with nature. Cross-reference, again, Bhagavad Gita, Matra Sparshastu Kaunteya Shitoshna Sukadukadaha. As soon as we come into contact with the world, we experience heat and cold, comfort and discomfort. To that extent, the milk is as close to God as possible. That's why it's called Amrita. Now it comes into contact with the world. How do we protect the nourishing factor of the milk? So we convert it into yogurt. Yogurt has a longer shelf life than milk, and therefore, please see the Dayadi Ashtagunas that I talked about is that process where the milk is preserved as yogurt. And this yogurt also has limited shelf life because all these gunas are easy to practice as long as you don't get challenged from the outside world. When the outside world challenges, each one of these gunas will get compromised. So the third iteration is where we extract the clarified butter. So from the yogurt to butter to clarified butter, the ghee, it has a very long life. That means a person will remain undisturbed even in very difficult circumstances. That's the metaphor behind it. So Amrita is the first descent of man from his divine. Then he comes into contact with the world. How does he preserve his role? By bringing the yogurt. Then it is butter. Then we come to honey. Now honey is also a metaphor. That metaphor is where the honey bee, it collects the nectar from number of flowers. It pollinates those plants. And they collect all these things only to give it away. Like that in our life also, it is a metaphor to say that I am getting so many things, all my comfort from society, and only for me to give it up. It's called Madhukara Vritti. Therefore, the next one we are introducing honey. Then we are introducing sugar. The concept of sugar is where by human effort, you take the sugar cane, crush it, etc., etc. And therefore, you also say, every time I am being crushed in the experience of my life, I will only give sweetness. So it is these meditations that should occur when we do the Panchamrita Abhisheka. So a lot of people have complaints that you waste edible food and all that, but that is only, we don't have to throw gallons and gallons, but it is part of the practice. But this is the philosophical basis. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you very much, sir. That Aswatji, that was very enlightening. I think in our temple, maybe the priest can explain this before they start this Abhishekams.
And is there any other question? I may ask one more question.
Yeah, we have one more time for one more question.
Take other
Yeah,
okay.
one more question. Yeah.
My question is the significance of conducting Kalyana. We do Girija Kalyana, Sitarama Kalyana, so on and so forth. What is the significance of it and how it relates to human beings doing the Kalyana?
This, even though we say that it is Girija Kalyana or Srinivasa Kalyana, etc., every Vivaha is a Girija Kalyana or a Srinivasa Kalyana, because as you know, in the ritual of Vivaha, the very first thing when we do the Madhuparka is a mixture of yogurt, honey, and a slice of banana is offered to the groom. And Madhuparka in our ritualistic tradition is offered only to the Devata or to Guru, only two. So this groom, who is he? He is actually elevated to the status of Mahavishnu, and a bride is elevated to status of Mahalakshmi. So the wedding is, of every wedding is between Lakshmi and Vishnu, Shiva and Parvati. So similarly, this Girja Kalyana is, and Srinivasa Kalyana is a ritual and a metaphor to say that my marriage also has to be everlasting, infinite, such as the marriage of the Devatas.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Asodji. Next one is a presentation by Vanamoorthy ji, who is our Sthapati, Asthana Sthapati at the Hindu Temple of Greater Chicago. Vanamoorthy ji, I will share, namaskar, and I will share my screen and you can walk through it. When you need to, go to the next screen, please tell me next or previous, okay?
All right.
Okay, 1 second. Yeah. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
Namaskaram, everyone. Aswath, nice. I was listening to you. That's the first time I was listening your lecture, and thank you to our committee. So committee chair, Hindu Dharma Philosophy. So EC members and the board of trustees. I thank to all because they give the opportunity for me to speak. Thank you. Namaskaram. My name is Vanamoorthy. Most of them, they know that Vanamoorthy Sundaram Achari, Sthapati. My guru was Padma Bhushan, Dr. Ganapati Sthapati. I am a ISSCA, so I came this countries. I worked at the temple almost 36 years, so we wanted that. My family also, the Vishwakarma family, so we are built the temple and all of these things. So talk about the temple, so Alayamam Agamamam. Alayam Agamam. So, sir, next line, Polam.
Yeah.
Next slide.
Yeah. Sri Guru Pyo Namaha. So, Alayamam Agamamam. So, Alayam, yeah, the Alayamam Agamamam, so the Vedic ritual, the ritual traditions of the ritual things. So the Agama Shastra, so how do we build the temple? Basically, when they cut the land, so they have wanted to build that so temple, I don't know which god, goddess, so we want to build it. So depend of the size and the idol size going to be the Garbhagraham, they called that Sanctum Sanctorium, so the room size. Depend of that what size we are putting the Vigrahas, either Vishnu or Ganesha or Subramanya, Shiva. So according to that room, the Sanctum Sanctorium size, so we have to calculate like they have the picture was so. Sanctum Sanctorium was in the face size and the neck size was Ardha Mandapa and Mukha Mandapa. Mandapa means it's the prayer hall, the main hall, the Dvajastamba, and the main Mahadwar entrance was a Rajagopura and all the thing. So everything according to Agama Shastra, the calculation of the prayer hall will comes. So the front Rajagopuram and all the things we filled it. So Dvajastambham also, they have that third padam, the fourth padam means the diameter of the sanctum sanctorum. We have to calculate up to that. They have that some other temple, they have that two Dvajastambham also, because inner also, the first prakaram, so the second mantapam, so we put the Dvajastambham. One is that before that, we have to put it outside the Rajagopram also, we put it. Why we put it outside the Rajagopram? So some other Jains, so like Swamiji and Madhadivati, so normally they have to worship from there, like Kanji, Shankaracharya and all the thing. I did many temples also in India. So one of the temples, the Swamiji came for that. They are not passing from the Dvajastambha to come to inside the temple, because they have to worship from there. So that's why they have that. Some other temple they have that two Dvajastambha also they have it. So Parthi sir, next slide please. Yeah. So depend of the which cardist we are install. So Sthapanam means install the idol. So in the position of the idol, so in one another they have that like Ganesha or Subramanya or Mahavishnu or that Shivalingam. Among that, the Shivalingam was the Pradishtapana. Why I put in the Shivalingam picture? This is the only the god and the only the Moorthi Sthapan from the ground level. Whatever the Garbhagudi floor level, it goes to under the things. The lingam go to the earth. Normally, all the other idols, so we install only the Garbhagudi floor level only. But they have that Shivalingam on the Brahma Sutra. So the Brahma Sutra means in the center of the room. Because each Garbhagraha, the sanctum sanctorium, its position will change it. Why change it means, like Ram Parivar, they have the Ram, Lakshmana, Sita. So some of the Garbhagudi, they come to Hanuman also, it comes. But they have that not in the center lines. So the main sutra, so they don't care to put it. In the Shivalingam only, they have the unique, because they have that earth going to be that we have to dig that Garbhagudi level, floor, we have to dig it, and we put it that on the Shivalingam. The lingam, so they're going to be all the way in the earth, that's called the Brahma. The Brahma is it's like a Garbhagudi, so the same way we have to do the square size. The same stone, the bottom was that the square, the middle of that the Brahma, the middle of that Vishnu. The Vishnu is the hexagon, so that's one. So the round circle is the Parameshwar, so that's way. So octagon, the square, octagon, the round, they have to come to only one stone. In the middle of the post, in the surrounding, in the Panavattam, so they called the Panavattam, they called Avadayar also. That one they added later. So the Trinity, they have to come to within the Shiva Garbhagudi. So the other Garbhagudi is a different size, and they have the Sutram also, which will change that Garbhagudi. But these are next one. Yeah, the temple, we have that all the temple was a different style of the temple. So they have that, the style means because they have it, Agama Shastra, we following that thing, but that the Gopuram and all the things, like a Dwaraka style, and Chola style, and Pallava style, See, like a Dwaraka style is our Hindu temple of Greater Chicago. Shiva and Sanadi was like a Dwaraka and the mixed thing. And the Pallava style is the Rama temple, so Chicago Rama temple, that thing. They have the many temple also in Chicago area. They're like a huge Samirana temple and the Jalram Baba temple. And they have at Indiana also they have that temple. That's also Dwaraka style. They did it, but they have everything. Even I did many Gujarati temples also. So the Gujarati temple also they have the Prana Pradishta and all the things. Variation is different because we do that. When we do that prana pradishta, they have the jaladivasam, jnanavasam, pushpadivasam, so they do the things. And the same thing in the marble vigraham also we do the things. And prana pradishta and all of them, so they have that even from the south to north, and then the ways we are doing. Most of them, so everybody was following the prana pradishta. It's the same thing. And the Gopuram and the structure is a different style, they do the things. But the Agama is the same thing. So, the Agama is the same thing means in the temple size and all the things, because I give you the proportion of the human body. But the structure, the calculation, then, so if we have that America, they have we cannot find that the hall and all the things. Some of the building they bought it and that they rearranging and all the things. So most of the position wherever I go to the many temple I did it in USA, they did it as Sthapanam and everything. But according to on the building also we go through the things. But the Sthapana, what are the direction we have to go to, like a Shiva temple, so we have to do that. Subramanya, Vinayaka, so Navagraha, so everything we have to follow according to Agama Shastra, only we do the Prana Pradishta. And next, I was doing that next week also, they have to Prana Pradishta, Navagraha also. But in the previously they did the summer place, then I went to that, this is not a place to we have to put it, so we have to change it further. You see, northeast corner only we have to do the things. So all the 9 planets, so we are putting further. So most of the things was the building structure will, if we change a little bit, but the Sthapanam and the Pradishtapanam, so according to Agama Shastra, most of the means of south, north, everybody was following according to Agama Shastra. So, next slide, Parthi sir.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sorry. So, normally in our family, my father and my brother right now, he doing that all the carving, that statue and all the things. Most of the carving, the statue, they have the many quarries we have it. But we have the particular quarry only, we have to collect the stone for the carving, the stain. The quarry we are taking from the stone from the quarry, so they have that, we have to find that they have the male and female stone. So when they get the quarry, so we have to take it out, then we have to pick it up what size we need it, what statue we going to make it. According to that, we have to get the stone from the quarry. Then we have to check with is a male stone or female stone. The male stone, female stone, how do we can find it? With rhythm. We have to sound, we have to make it. Then we'll find it for that what kind of stone we got it. According to that, so we making for that, then once I get the stone out, so we have that, the center line up, so we have to make the mark, because from the quarry we have the stone uneven, we cannot make the line. So that way they have that sutra line, we have to make it first. Then they have that Navadalam. So if you want to make that, so if we want to make that a human statue, something like that, that we have that different calculation. If we have the Vigraha in goddess, if you want to go with it, they called the Navatalams. According to Navatalam, so we have to go through the things. The proportion of that each is, how much tall is comes, then according to that, the proportion, it will change it. Because normally, what's happened, they have that one portion for that, so our face cover and half of the neck, or the 1/4 in the shoulder, something like that, so we have to draw the things. Then we have to chip it up, so each steps, so we have to mark it, chip it, mark it, and do the things. Then they have to print out the statue. So, Moorthis, sir, next one, please. Yeah, the first picture was, so that from the quarry we took it out. Then the sutra line was, they made it for that, so. Then after that, what are the statue they have to come? So how much the face size, so according to calculate. Because the standing Vigraha is a different statue. The sitting portion is a different, measurement is a different, where they have it. So if we have the fold feet, and so they have that standing is a different things. So that way the sutra lines, they have the Navadalam, so they have that mark it at. Then they have the second one they drawing, and the third one they chipped out. What are the pieces we don't want it, we get it out. Then the carving each time, so we mark it and clear out the waste of the stone, we have to take it out. And the third one, so once I finish and the polish, we have to apply the oil. So and then beat it Stapan. That one I Stapan 2 years ago in Indianapolis, so I did it, that things. That Moorthi made it out to my brother, so that's right.
Time check, Vanamoorthy ji.
Thank you, sir. Yeah. Thank you so much for giving an opportunity. And, so I'm not speaking that much English.
No, that is okay. Yeah, thanks a lot. And, I will bring it back to, Dr. Vidyasagar ji and Sanat ji. Okay.
First of all, I would like to say thank you, Vanamoorthy garu.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
After 30, 40 years being with us, we are just learning how much experience you are and how much knowledge you have. And this is the first time our audience are listening to you, and we are very grateful to you.
Thank you. And I have to thank you because in the first, Dr. Vidyasagar was saying, so you have to give the speech, and Shivaramji also was telling, the sir was telling, so you have to go and speak. And I great thankful to so all the Hindu Dharma philosophy, and Dr. Sanat sir also, they was asking, so talking. So I was saying that, I don't know, all the big people was here. I don't know how do you speak, so I was a little bit nervous, but so you give me that opportunity. I was speaking that so nice of you, sir.
Thank you.
You have done a wonderful job.
Very good job.
I have to thank you to Parthi sir. Parthi sir helping for that, so and helping for that slide and all the things, so thank you so much, Parthi sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Back to
Hindu Dharma Committee, led by Dr. Vidyasagar Sanat Kumar, and thank you to our Guru, Sri Awath ji. So, as part of Hindu Temple, we would like to have more participants. Send this link to your families, and we would like to definitely extend our sincere thanks to the leader, Dr. Vidyasagar, and our Guru, Dr. Aswath Guru. Thank you.
all right. Thank you, everyone. And please, tune in for the next announcement. Every month we are going to have this series. This is a learning series. Please, ask your children or the others also to join. Thank you.
Sagar Garu, you have something to say?
No, thank you very much. But I just wanted, one question I wanted to say, maybe we don't have much time. If there are any differences in the planning and the temples in north and south, but we can take that another time, that's okay. We can think about it, and I think we are going beyond the 9 o'clock.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much one more time, and have a good night. Bye.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody. Namaskara.
People are, lot of them are from
Thank you, Vidyasar Garu. Thank you, Moorthy.